Hello my wonderful viewers, welcome to my platform. This is Linda's TV show. If it is your first time of coming across this channel and you like what you see after watching, please subscribe, put on your notification bell, set it to all notification. In that way you'll be able to get notified each time I upload a new video, even those without notification. Here we react to all forms of videos, international and local. Every Saturday by 2 p.m. we have our interaction section. You are free to call in to air your opinion about the happenings in our society. Invite your friends, share my videos with your families and colleagues. Do not keep this information to yourself. Myself, I will be sitting down here to watch this video together with you from the beginning to the end. Then we'll go to the comment section and leave our comment, our opinion about the video we watch.
Organisations to discuss intercommunal violence and freedom of religion or belief. It's clear that religious identity can be a factor in incidents of violence in Nigeria and that Christian communities have been victims. But the root causes are often complex and frequently also relate to competition over resources, historical grievances and criminality. So the UK government is committed to working with Nigeria to respond to insecurity. At our Security and Defence Dialogue with Nigeria in February, we committed to work together to respond to the conflict. We're supporting local and national peace-building efforts in Nigeria, including through the Nigeria Governors Forum and National Peace Committee. We provide mentoring and capacity building to support Nigerian police force units to improve their anti-kidnap capacity, and are supporting efforts to address the drivers and enablers of serious and organised crime in Nigeria. At our Security and Defence Dialogue, we both reiterated our shared understanding and commitment to protecting human rights for all. We are committed to defending freedom of religion or belief for all and promoting respect between different religious and non-religious communities. I discussed FORB with the Nigerian Foreign Minister just last month, and we look forward to hosting an international conference on FORB in July. We will continue to encourage the Nigerian government to take urgent action to implement long-term solutions that address the root causes of such violence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting this question following the tragic news of the latest killings in Nigeria. A targeted attack, not on warring militia as part of armed conflict, nor even targeting farmers or villagers over land. No, this was a brutal attack on a place of worship, Francis Xavier Catholic Church in Owo, and on worshippers gathering on Pentecost Sunday. A time of celebration turned into a time of carnage. And why? That is the really urgent question. The Governor of Ondo State, Governor Akarodolu, condemned the attack as vile and satanic. Reverend Augustine Ikwu, Secretary of the Catholic Church in Ondo, said, "We turn to God to console the families of those whose lives were lost." And I'm sure the whole House will join in these words of condemnation and consolation for the victims and their families, and I do thank the Minister for her words in this connection. But as this urgent question implies, this latest atrocity is far from an isolated incident where religious minorities, particularly Christians, are being targeted. Bandits, predominantly militant Fulani herdsmen, have killed 3,000 people in 2022 alone. Most of these horrendous attacks have in recent times been in the Middle Belt region and have adversely affected the practice of Christianity in the region. My honourable friend for Stramford led an APP delegation to Nigeria last week alongside my Deputy Special Envoy David Burrows. They heard evidence from Benue, Enugu, Plateau, Southern Kaduna, Adamawa and Taraba states. People all saying the attackers of their communities are militant Fulani herdsmen whose targets, whose victims are profiled based on their religious identity. I have a number of questions for the Minister. Whilst the causes of violence and conflict in Nigeria are complex, will she agree, following this latest attack, not in the Middle Belt nor in the north, but in the to date relatively safe southwest, that this is a FORB issue, as the attacks are mainly on largely Christian communities? Will the Minister agree to meet me and the APP delegation to hear how local faith actors and NGOs need more support to bring faith communities together? What can the government do to support the Nigerian constitutional guarantee of freedom of religion and from discrimination? How is the government's partnership with Nigerian security forces and legal services supporting the apprehension of perpetrators and preventing increasing acts of impunity across Nigeria? And finally, Mr. Speaker, will the government support NGO calls for the establishment of special courts for speedy prosecution of perpetrators of violence in affected states to discourage impunity? And will it support NGOs in providing better research and monitoring of such grievous religious and human rights violations?
Order. Can I gently say, it's a very important issue, that's why I granted the UQ, but you can't double the amount of time that's available. We've got to stick to the rules now. Not my rules, but the MP's rules. Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I first of all thank the Honourable Lady for asking this question and you, Mr. Speaker, for granting it, and thank her also for all that she does to speak for freedom of religion or belief across the world. This was, as I've said, a heinous act. We have condemned it. It has been very widely condemned by both Christian leaders and also Muslim leaders. Leaders in Nigeria of different faiths have been very vocal, including the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs under the leadership of President General and Sultan of Sokoto. I mention that because I think it's important to note that all religious leaders from all sides are coming together to condemn this attack. As I said in my opening statement, it is clear that religious identity can be a factor in some of these violent issues. The sad fact is that Nigeria is a country that is becoming increasingly violent. It is violent, and there is rising conflict and insecurity. That includes terrorism in the northeast and separately intercommunal conflicts and criminal banditry in the northwest and middle belt, violence in the southeast and southwest. But Ondo State, as she says, was an area that had not experienced tragedies such as this. So our High Commissioner has spoken, for example, to the parish priest of the church that was attacked to express our support and solidarity. We're encouraging religious leaders to be act against this attack and continue to target and others that continue to target religious institutions. We're working really closely with religious leaders, but also liaising with the authorities in Ondo State to encourage a thorough investigation. So her thoughts about investigation, we're talking directly to the state about how best to help them and to support those coming together. So we are working with local faith actors and have done so since Sunday's attack. The one thing that I would point out is that the really sad fact is that we're also seeing targeting actions against Muslim communities as well as Christian communities. So, for example, in April, in Tabara State, gunmen attacked a mosque. So it is important to work with all sides when we are tackling this, and that is why the UK will continue to also work with the government of Nigeria on medium-term and long-term programmes to help address the causes of the instability, as well as working with the police, for example, on improving the work that they do. Thank you.
Shadow Minister Bambos Charalambos.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I want to begin by thanking the Speaker for granting this urgent question. My honourable friend, the member for West Ham, who would have been taking this UQ, is unable to be with us today because she has COVID. We wish her a speedy recovery. The massacre in Owa yesterday was utterly horrific. To target a church where so many were gathered to peacefully pray and celebrate Pentecost is truly appalling. Reports suggest that at least 50 people have been killed, including children. The shock and sorrow, the anger and despair felt by the families and the communities broken by this atrocity will be shared on both sides of the House. And our solidarity extends further to the many across Nigeria in shared mourning for the lives lost. To millions of Catholics around the world, and so many in British Nigerian communities who feel this is a personal blow, sadly this is not an isolated incident. Religious and ethnic bloodshed, kidnappings and banditry, vigilantism and revenge attacks are all on the increase in Nigeria, and each attack deepens the condition for further violence. Insecurity has been increasing rapidly across much of West Africa, and we haven't seen an equally urgent response from the government. As the desert expands with climate heating, traditional livelihoods are destroyed, governments are weakened, mistrust grows along economic, ethnic and religious lines, and criminals and terrorists fill the void. Surely we must recognise that insecurity even poses a threat to the stability of Nigeria as a democracy, and supporting such an important regional and global partner must be a top priority. So how will the government adapt and build upon the UK-Nigeria Security and Defence Partnership to focus on the drivers of insecurity on the ground across Nigeria? And what will the government do to stop Nigeria and the wider region from sliding further into instability with all the further atrocities that will result?
Thank you, Mr. So thank you to the member for speaking, and can I just send my best wishes to the member for West Ham, honourable member, and I hope that she feels better soon. He asked a really important question about what are we doing to address the drivers of conflict, and there are different drivers in different parts of the country, and I've had the huge privilege to be able to visit the country and talk to a lot of different groups, and also meet my counterparts a number of times. But so, for example, in some parts of the country you get conflicts between herders and ranchers. So we have provided technical support to the Vice President's office to develop Nigeria's national livestock transformation plan, and this is to set out a long-term approach towards more sedentary forms of cattle rearing. That explicitly is to address some of the drivers of intercommunal violence. That plan is now being implemented in 8 different states of the Middle Belt region. So very specific targeted work that's now being implemented. We also support efforts to respond to the conflict in, for example, work that we do on regional stabilisation efforts and the regionally led fight against arms groups, including demobilising, de-radicalisation and integration of former group members. We provide humanitarian aid to the crisis in northeast Nigeria, where 8 million people need life-saving assistance. One of the issues that we have helped with is improving respect for humanitarian law within the defence services. So part of our defence training officer is improving understanding of international humanitarian law. When my visit to Nigeria, I was really pleased to hear that in the northeast region, the relationship between security actors and local community members seems to be improving, and this was told to me by a local community leader who directly related that improving of relationships to the work that we have been doing to help improve understanding of humanitarian rights by the security services. So many, many different actions that we are taking in a very, very complex situation. And incidentally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm going to have the huge honour of meeting the Archbishop of Canterbury tomorrow, and I will certainly be discussing this with him.
Dr. Julian Lewis.
Madam Deputy Speaker, will the Minister take a look at early day motion number 95, which has been tabled by the Honourable Gentleman for Strangford and others, about the horrific stoning to death and then burning of the body and indeed the buildings of the college of a young female Christian student who had the temerity to object to the way in which a WhatsApp group was being used for inappropriate, quote-unquote, religious purposes. Does she accept that this problem goes wider than marauding groups, and will she make every effort to ensure that the Nigerian authorities bring the perpetrators of that barbaric crime, as well as this one, to justice?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe the Honourable Member is talking about the awful murder of Deborah Samuel, which took place on the 13th of May. It was another barbaric and heinous act. I've expressed my public condemnation. We've urged the relevant authorities to ensure that perpetrators face justice in line with the law. I was also extremely sad and troubled to hear over the weekend that there was a stoning and burning to death of what I believe was a member of a Muslim community in Abuja. So again, it reflects the incredibly difficult situation that we have, and there is of course concern that as we move towards an election, violence may increase, which is why we are urging everybody to stay calm, and why it's so important that leaders come together to condemn this attack, but also urge for calm.
SNP spokesperson Brendan O'Hara.
Thank you, and may I begin by sending our deepest condolences to everyone affected by this appalling attack. This time last week I was in Nigeria with the Honourable Member for Strangford, and while it is truly shocking, I fear that this latest atrocity will come as no surprise to the religious leaders, the civic society activists and the victims that we met, all of whom told us how rampant corruption, a culture of impunity, the inability of the state to provide adequate security, escalating poverty are all driving this beautiful country to the edge of catastrophe. So could the Minister tell me what practical help has she offered? And in a country where we were told that everything is seen through the prism of religion, when did she last meet with the Special Envoy to specifically discuss the escalating religious-based violence in Nigeria? And rather than cutting aid by 50%, shouldn't the UK be investing to alleviate poverty and building those interfaith, inter-community trust relationships to prevent such radicalisation in the future?
So the Honourable Gentleman is absolutely right to condemn this attack, and can I thank him and indeed members of the APPG for the trip that they took to Nigeria last week. I know that they worked with the High Commissioner to meet lots of different community leaders, faith leaders from many different parts of the country, and that visit was truly appreciated by the people who met. There are a number of things I've already mentioned, some of the different programs we do in Nigeria to try and improve stability and address some of the long-term concerns. We also do a lot of work in the region to try and prevent greater instability, so including across the Sahel and in Nigeria. That's, for example, why we've got peacekeeping troops in Mali with MINUSMA, why we support ECOWAS and their efforts, why we lead the international response on the Lake Chad Basin, and I've just mentioned that. He asked me what meetings I've had recently. I'm in a pretty regular contact with the foreign minister from Nigeria. In fact, I spoke to him when we were in Côte d'Ivoire, and I spoke to our High Commissioner just last week.
Sarah Owen.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Clergy have been kidnapped, women and girls raped, and ordinary worshippers murdered in their sanctuary. It's appalling that the regime of violence against Christians in Nigeria has been allowed to continue for so long. Open Doors report that even within government forces, Christians are vulnerable to persecution. And we've also seen that Muslims in Nigeria have been victims of targeted attacks. No one is spared. What reassurance can the Minister give those in the UK with loved ones in Nigeria that we will not just mourn this violence, but we will take proactive measures to protect the freedom and lives of religious minorities in Nigeria and worldwide?
As I've said, the UK is absolutely committed to not only working with the Nigerian government to try and improve stability and to tackle insecurity in what is a very challenging part of the world, but we also are leading some of the work internationally to promote the freedom of religious belief. religion or belief. And this is why the work of the envoy, who actually I met in December formally, but I'm in pretty regular contact with, and indeed we exchanged messages as soon as we heard about this tragic incident, why her work is so important. But also so is the conference that we will be hosting, a global conference on this in July. That will be at ministerial level. This is to absolutely drive forward international efforts on freedom of religion and belief. And we continue to work with the UN, G7, other multilateral fora. The really important issue here is that we stand together to condemn this, that we believe that it is very important that not only we here in the UK, but across Nigeria, across communities, call for individuals to be held to account under the law. Under the law, they must be held to account under the law. But also, that call for calm is so crucial.
John Cryer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. What's happening in Nigeria has actually been going on for over a decade now, and more or less meets the UN's definition of genocide. Okay. Now, the Nigerian government may say they're taking action to prevent this, and increasingly we're seeing attacks on Muslims. For many years, Christians have been predominantly the targets. They may say they're taking action. There isn't much evidence to suggest that they're doing that with any great determination. What have the government told the minister? She says she has regular meetings with them, which I don't doubt. But what has the Nigerian government said? What measures are they taking to address this and to stop it?
So the government, this is an extremely challenging issue, as he quite correctly says, that has been going on for many years. Terrorist attacks in northeast Nigeria, incidents of intercommunal violence in many states. They've had devastating impacts on both Christians and Muslim communities. The government has worked with us in the Nigerian government in the security and defence dialogue that we launched earlier this year. This was the first dialogue that we've had. They asked us to, for example, improve mentoring and capacity building for police, to improve some of the work they do. We reiterated our shared understanding on commitment to protecting human rights for all. But there are so many different drivers for this. So this is, for example, why the work that we've done with the Vice President's office on other ways of rearing cattle to try and reduce some of the conflicts between the different communities is really important as well. And these are projects that we work on where we can with the government. But it is extremely important that we continue to urge all parties, including those who are hoping to stand in next year's election, to keep the calm and not incite violence.
Leila Moran.
Deputy Speaker, the shock of these unprovoked attacks is made all the more heartbreaking by the fact that it included children. So the Liberal Democrats add our voices of condemnation to that across this House. The Minister has very rightly identified that the causes of this are complex, but are to do with lack of resources and indeed insecurity. But I'm afraid, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the government's money is not where its mouth is. Not only has it cut the aid budget to Nigeria by half, but the forward projections are no good either. It went from 237 to 117, then it will go to 73 million, 55 million, then 40 million. How does that dwindling budget tally with what the Minister is saying about this country being serious about tackling the root causes of this terrorism?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I think it's really important to look at what we have done. Okay, I've mentioned a number of different projects and others are coming, but for example, our Links programme has facilitated investments worth over £14 million. That has created 20,000 full-time jobs. It's helping over 48,000 people increase their incomes since 2019. And as I said earlier, when I visited the region, I was very moved to hear how the relationships between the community members and members of forces had significantly improved in the Lake Chad Basin. It is a very difficult part of the world. It has got very, very high levels of conflict, one of the highest countries in the world for conflict. But there were some slithers of optimism that I think we should continue to try and develop.
Mike Kane.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I, like hundreds of millions across the planet, had the pleasure of celebrating Pentecost yesterday. And with no disrespect for the Minister, I still don't think the FCDO gets this. Government has to recognise anti-Christian nature of the attack on the birthday of the Church yesterday, because there were attacks at the chapel of the Pentecost in Jerusalem as well yesterday. Does she agree that the religious dimension has to be addressed for progress to be made?
Madam Deputy Speaker, as a Christian, I know how important Pentecost is. It is a really important service, and to attack Christians at prayer is a hideous crime. It is also a hideous crime to attack anyone from any religion who is trying to worship and pray for peace. And that has ripped away the peace of that community, of those who lost their lives and of their families. At this point, it is not clear who was behind the attack or motivated it specifically. There could be up to 50 different victims. As I said in my opening remarks, it is clear that religious identity can be a factor of incidents of violence in Nigeria. We have seen attacks against churches. We have also seen attacks against mosques. And it's really important that we work with a country that is 50-50 in Muslims and Christians, that we work together across the face to call for peace, to call for calm, and to call out those who attack others, whether it's religious motivated or otherwise.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Minister highlighted the fact that we need to hold those to account in law. Sunday is a religious day for many Nigerians, and to know that so many women and children died at St. Francis Church for just worshipping is very sad, and I also send my condolences to those families. One of the key issues around this is the fact that support for regional, state and community policing in Nigeria, that instability is something that's been mentioned by many members across this House. The Minister may be aware that just a week ago the head of the Methodist Church, Bishop Sam Kanu Uche, was kidnapped, abducted in Abia State. 2 weeks ago, 2 Catholic priests were also kidnapped. Again, people merely wanting to worship and express their religion are being attacked. What more is the Minister going to do in addressing this to help provide basic security for communities, including communities in my constituency of Vauxhall, who are worried about their family back at home in Nigeria?
There's a number of different questions there, and I understand how concerned some of her constituents may be about their family back in Nigeria. Firstly, when we met with the Nigerian government in the dialogue on security and defence in February, we agreed to cooperate to support Nigeria to tackle security challenges and to promote human rights, and that's a really important part of the policing here. We have offered to support Ondo State, liaising already with the governor there to encourage a thorough investigation. I know that my High Commissioner is also encouraging religious leaders to speak out against this attack, but to encourage them to come together in condemnation, but also to continue to call for calm, to give support to the victims, and to ensure that those who face justice, the justice is in line with.
My wonderful viewers, for watching this video together with me from the beginning to the end. Like I said before, if you like what you see here, if you like what I do in this platform, as you have finished watching this video, please hit that red button that says subscribe and put on your notification bell to all notification. In that way, you'll be able to know when I upload a new video. Share my videos, leave your comments in the comment section constructively. Until I meet your way again in my next video, I still remain your Linda's TV show. Bye-bye.